In today's video, I'm going to tell you what it takes to climb Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain. Advice from someone who has never climbed Mount Everest before. I just do a lot of research. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and Mount Everest is considered one of the ultimate mountaineering adventure experiences. The world's tallest mountain and the pinnacle of climbing, only second to climbing out of a hole you dug for yourself when you told your partner that you totally didn't drink too much last night. When people have a bucket list of things to do, climbing Everest is pretty much a common goal that a lot of people have. A lot of people have this on their bucket list because, in all honesty, it's a pretty momentous thing to achieve. And it's easy just to say, oh, I'll climb Mount Everest someday. But to actually be in a position where you can actually pull this off is a lot of work. Not only is the mountain pretty damn tall, but because it's so well traversed, it's actually quite accessible. But you just need to make sure that you've done your prep work and that you're in a state where you're physically capable of climbing up and down the mountain. It's not the most dangerous or hardest mountain to climb, but the sheer fact that it's considered the world's largest is what gives Everest the legendary status it has as difficult things to climb. But what exactly would be involved? How much patience, training and preparation would someone need, and how reasonable would it be for someone to rock up tomorrow and start climbing this thing? All of this we're going to be talking about today. Now, everything I'm going to be talking about from this point onwards is pretty much research I've done online from people that actually know what they're talking about. So even though it's me telling you, there is some authority behind this, so it should be pretty accurate. This is a high difficulty level mountain where you need a very high level of fitness at an elevation of 8,850 meters or just over 29,000 feet high. This is certainly a tall boy. This isn't a trip where you can go up in just one weekend, however, as it apparently takes for the entire journey up and down the mountain can take around 60 days. And there's good reason for that, especially when I tell you what's involved when it comes to traversing Everest. So, what's the first thing you need if you want an actual good chance of climbing Everest? Well, the answer is deep pockets. As most people would hire a Sherpa or a guide to guide them up and down the mountain, someone that actually knows where they're going and what they're doing, which might cost you anywhere between the region of $35,000 to $60,000, which at the end of the day is a lot of money. These costs would include the cost for the Sherpa, the equipment, supplies, oxygen canisters, etc, etc. If you really want to splash out, you can purchase a VIP package, where you basically have people carry everything up for you, cook for you, heck, they may as well carry you up the mountain at that cost. But this goes in at a region of about $100,000 or more. Something else you need before you climb the mountain is actually permission to do so, and you normally do this by acquiring a permit before you start your trip, as, well, if you don't have a permit, technically you're not allowed to climb it. The purpose of this is to try and regulate and control the volume of people climbing this mountain, as it being Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, it can get quite popular, so they want to make sure that there aren't hundreds of thousands of people climbing this in one go. They need to make sure that it's measured and controlled. That is because one of the biggest problems there is on the mountain is congestion, and it's important to make sure that you can move around freely without being trapped at certain parts of the mountain, so they want to make sure that nothing wrong goes like that. Now, this mountain actually sits on the border between Nepal and Tibet, but most people start their climb on the Nepal side, which after taking a short flight there, can take about 10 days to trek up to the Everest base camp. 10 days just to get to base camp? Well, you have to understand that base camp is about 17,500 feet up, so it's pretty high even though you're only reaching base camp, and it takes 10 days because it's still pretty high. And a lot of people that go will travel to get to base camp and use that as their goal, which is perfectly fine. A lot of people would be more than happy to get to Everest base camp and consider that a job well done. However, there are many other people who go with the intention of reaching the summit of the mountain, meaning that once they reach base camp, that's only the start of their journey. Once you arrive at base camp, you're going to be there normally for some time, mainly to climatize to the altitude, but also to rest up and prepare for the big trip up the mountain. This involves people scaling up and down the mountain to climatize, and it's not just as simple as climbing up in one go. There's quite a lot of back and forth here. I mean, it's not like you can just climb the mountain at any time of year. You need to make sure that you go at the right time and make sure that you're as prepared as possible to make sure the trip is going to be a safe and successful one. This is high up, meaning that you want to give yourself the best chance possible. Therefore, a lot of people wait for the safer routes to open to the summit in about May time. This route remains open only for a few weeks, as it sits between the winter and summer monsoons the region is normally known to have. So a small window of time opens to give you the best chance to scale Everest. So, even if there's climbers there waiting for the conditions to be right before they start their ascent, how many people each year actually complete the climb of Everest? Well, it's estimated that every year there's about just over 600 people that manage to reach the top, and more than double that of people who actually go with the intent of climbing to the top. So there's a lot of people that will try it and not even finish it. Most of which may return down the mountain if there's big problems. They might be injured, or they might just not be cut out to do it. Like I said, you do need to be very physically fit to have a good shot at even finishing this thing. There are occasions, however, where people will go up the mountain and, unfortunately, not make it back down. It's actually something that can happen quite frequently, where people die on Everest, which is certainly added to the known danger that it poses when people attempt to climb this thing. Climbers can die from a number of different causes: falls, avalanches, exacerbated health problems, oxygen depletion, sudden storms, and so on. The area of the mountain from 26,000 feet up to the summit is known as the death zone, aptly named due to the fact that, well, many people die in that area. It's known for this due to the thin air and the harsh weather conditions that people can experience when they're that high on the mountain, meaning that a lot of people take oxygen canisters with them to supplement their breathing whilst climbing the mountain, which is a scary thing knowing that you're in a place where you might have to rely on that for your own survival. As a matter of fact, the summit has 1/3 of the air that we do down near sea level, meaning that if you go up, you need to make sure that you got some pretty deep lungs to not die. Just taking some deep breaths in now. Taking in all that air because I can. Things are, over time, becoming safer with better training standards for the Sherpas and the improved equipment being used. But it is estimated that 1 in every 100 people that go up the mountain will die along the way in some form or another. So, although the odds are heavily in your favour, 1 in 100 is still quite a lot. The most grueling part about this whole thing is that if climbers don't make it, normally they can't really be retrieved from the mountain due to the fact of the amount of effort it takes to retrieve someone's corpse from on the mountain, meaning that a lot of climbers simply have to be left up there. This means that many climbers pass by these bodies and sometimes use them as a marker to know how far people are up and down the mountain, which is a pretty grisly detail, but is just how it works when someone dies on the mountain. The only viable way to get them down, and normally to dispose of the bodies, is to throw them off the edge of the cliff. I can just hear people with a pen and pad crossing out their bucket list item of climb Mount Everest, maybe replacing it with something a little less dangerous. So, if you manage to get yourself a permit, you have enough money to fund your trip, you arrive at the mountain, you're fit enough to climb the mountain and get to the top unscathed, you will reach the summit, which is no bigger than a dining room table. This is a small mound of snow on the tippy top of the world's biggest mountain. And although that there was a lot of effort to get to this point, you must appreciate that the view up there must be pretty spectacular. I mean, if you've climbed all that way, you deserve it. So what normally happens is you will reach the top and you will get maybe 10-15 minutes just to have a sit or a stand at the top and bask in the glory of reaching the summit of the mountain. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, like I said before, one of the big parts of Everest is that it is quite congested, meaning that there's quite a few people on the mountain, so other people are going to want their chance to climb on the very top and have a good sight out onto the world. The other main thing, however, is, like I said, oxygen is in short supply, so you can't afford to spend hours and hours up there. So you'll reach the top, you'll stand on the top for a brief time, and then you need to think about going back down the mountain. Yes, that is something else to consider, because even though you've made it to the top of the mountain, that's only halfway. You need to get back home again, unless you're intending on staying up there. And the worst thing of all is the most dangerous part of the trip is at this moment. People might get to the top but run into problems on the descent back down. So yeah, that's a lot involved to climb a mountain, but people still go in droves and keep climbing nonetheless. And yeah, from someone that's never climbed Everest, that's my explanation of how to climb Everest. And I know what you're asking. Tank, will you ever do this in the future? Is this something that you're keen to do? You know, to climb Everest? Well, it is something which I think would be pretty monumental, and it's something which, you know, is kind of a staple for many people's bucket lists, and I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't be interested in, you know, maybe doing it one day. However, I know for a fact that I couldn't fly out there tomorrow and do it, because I should probably go for a few runs first before I even consider climbing a mountain. But never say never. If the opportunity arises and I'm in a position where I can do it, then you just never know. I might be up there planting the brain spill flag on the peak of Everest one day in the future. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Right, if I really want to give this a go, I think I need to start by climbing a set of stairs 200 times to get an idea as to how it would feel to climb a mountain. Gonna need to make sure I get those oxygen canisters though, to give myself the best shot possible. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic!